Bob Seelig with us here, the executive director of the Capital Regional International Airport, where I was last night, very late, coming back on that same convenient Sun Country flight, because you leave in the morning, and if you have business in Washington, you could leave in the morning and come back at night.
Yeah, that was a request that we worked on through Senator Stabenow's office. Actually, she helped us get it through the Department of Transportation, because everybody's wanting a day trip. You know, we started off with one round trip to D.C. Over the last couple of years, and then last year they wanted a day trip, and so we were able to work that out. So you can leave in the morning and come back at night.
Yeah, and you can do business, or to tell you the truth, I mean, with the airport, Reagan Airport being so close to downtown, I mean, you could literally walk if you had to. And I think it was a $20 cab ride at the most.
Yeah,
and you're right in the heart of the action.
And you know, everybody talks about the congressional side of it, but it's just a great city. There's so much to do there. To take a family any time of the year, to take a family long weekend trip is just a fun deal.
Yeah, and maybe people don't realize either that all the museums are free.
Yeah.
So when you start to amortize your cost of, and these flights are sometimes very low.
Yep.
In terms of the fee.
Yeah, some of them like $139 one way. You know, so and remember before we started this, Delta and United were charging $600 to get into DC. So this is a good deal. It's the only nonstop large aircraft service out of Michigan outside of Detroit into Washington D.C. So we encourage everybody to use it. Michiganders got to use it. We got to, or we lose it.
I'm glad you brought that up, but I'm going to get back to that in just a minute. But first, you've increased the availability to Chicago too, and Chicago gets you to the world.
Right. Actually, we've been working
Detroit does too.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of options going to the west.
Oh yeah, and out of Chicago, it's if not the largest, one of the largest, but it's historically had all sorts of connections, out of there. But probably the biggest deal that we've been working on is the airfares to Chicago, just people wanting to go in for business.
Oh.
Over the last probably 5 years, United has gradually raised the airfares for for just the hop into Chicago and back on a day trip, and we've worked with them to reduce that, and they've got a test out there. They call it a beta test to see if it'll work, see if people will use it, and so we're kind of getting the word out that to all the business people, if you have business in Chicago, there's real good airfares on United now. So give them a try. Now we have had a discussion over the last few days about the reliability, but gee whiz, try to find reliability on I-94, or on the
well,
train.
That's a good point.
Right now, transportation reliability on the ground isn't any better than in the air, frankly.
The convenience factor too, they're hardly. I've never seen a security line at Lansing Airport. Usually, and they greet you by name just about if you go there often enough. Right. And the parking is very inexpensive as well.
Yeah, I think if you stay there all day, we're at $10 a day.
Yeah,
so
that's
and you're right in front of the terminal, so it's not like that's not an outlot.
You can start your car with your remote starter from the baggage claim rack, which is really nice, especially this time. You don't have to get on a shuttle or anything like that to get to the parking.
No, that's right.
You mentioned that you want everyone to use the airport so that we can maintain some of these routes. Peter Lark, have you met him?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, when that all controversy came up at Christmas time and he went to New York, he was on the program with me, and here's what I asked him, and here's what he said. When you flew to New York, did you fly out of Detroit or Lansing?
Detroit, sir.
Does that disappoint you when you hear a civic leader answering a question like that, particularly when it was a controversial trip to begin with?
Well, it's just not just Peter. We have a lot of people that do drive to Detroit. And sometimes for a good reason. Sometimes the airfare difference does justify it. What we encourage people to do is check Lansing, because oftentimes these days the airfare out of Lansing is cheaper than flying out of Detroit. I was approached yesterday. Somebody was shocked that they made a connection. The same flight they were going to fly out of Detroit, they got the connecting flight out of Lansing, and the airfare was cheaper out of Lansing than on the same flight out of Detroit. And what I try to tell people is keep in mind that you're connecting somehow. You're connecting with a car. You're connecting with a plane. I'd rather take the 20, 25-minute plane connection instead of the car and waiting through the slush in the parking lot. But I think I'm worth it.
I do too.
Yeah, there you go. And I think everybody else is worth it. That's what it's there for. But the bottom line on the use it or lose it side is that the airlines keep track of our habits. And we complain about the federal government and what they all know about our habits, but the airlines know a lot when it comes to travel. And they know when each one of us fly out of what airport. Mm-hmm. And so they use that as their own survey. And so if everybody's flying out of Detroit, they're going to say, well, Lansing doesn't need any air service because people don't care. Mm. All we need to do is to encourage people to check the airfares and calculate the full cost, because there is a cost of driving, and some people actually drive down and stay in a hotel
the night before just to get an early flight.
Yeah, and then they find out they spent $200 to $250, and they would have saved all that money. They saved all that by flying out of Lansing.
Travel safely, and there's plenty of winter left. Lots of all-inclusive trips too. The best web address for all that?
Oh, flylansing.com.
Simple as that. Flylansing.com. Great to see you. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.